The first surprise of 2024 is that the metal version of a handheld is actually better than the original. Seriously, it's gonna be a weird year. Hey everyone, Joey here. Everybody remembers the Retroid Pocket 2S, right? It's an awesome handheld, under $100, punches way above its weight class, and some might say that everybody should own one because it's awesome. You get Hall effect triggers, you have awesome buttons, one of the best D-pads that you could use, analog triggers, and all of that for $100 and plus shipping US dollars, and it's a great package. But the best part about this device is it can play Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, PSP if you don't mind the really small kind of screen. But then there's also GameCube, Wii, and some PlayStation 2. And GameCube and Wii are some as well. You can play a bit of the library of it. Really, the only negative to this device was the screen. It's a 3.5-inch screen, and a lot of people don't like that because it's a little bit smaller than what they're used to. Everything else is fantastic, and I actually really like this device. Then Retroid did a poll a few months ago, asking what color we all wanted for a metal version. And they had some awesome colors there. There was an awesome blue, a green, a pink, purple sort of one, and then a gunmetal version. Which, in my mind, the gunmetal shouldn't have been an option because it was just so boring. Then, in true fashion, the most boring color ever won the poll. So we have a gunmetal 2S here. And I really would have liked the blue, or honestly, I would have taken any of the other colors except for boring old gunmetal, but this is what we get. And this here retails for $149 US dollars, which is $50 more than its counterpart because it's the 4GB, 128GB internal storage model. For the most part, metal versions aren't preferred over plastic. There's only a few handhelds that I can think of, like the 405M, where I really like the metal, but not having an alternative option to compare it to, so you don't really know if anything else would be better. So it's a weird scenario here where we have both, and I can look at both and decide which one is better. And honestly, coming into this, when I saw the poll, I'm like, I don't think you need a metal version of the 2S at all. This gets really hot as it is, and imagine doing that on here. Plus also just it's metal. What's the point? What are you adding here? And I think my tune has changed a little bit, but I really wish it would have been a better color. And if it sounds like I'm a little bit angry or disappointed, it's because I am. I actually really like this metal 2S, and I really wish it would have just been a better color because this is going to be a keeper device for me now. The 2S was already a keeper device. It was never going to go anywhere. However, when you upgrade it, and I like this a little bit better than that, now you want your favorite version of that device to be your favorite version. So while I do like the green better, I have to deal with this gunmetal looking one, despite the fact that I like the entirety of the device a lot more than the plastic one. Honestly, the last time they did a metal version was the 3 Plus metal, and that design was absolutely fantastic. That blue gradient was beautiful. And so to go from that to just this is a little bit disappointing because I didn't like the 3 Plus actual handheld and I love the 2S, so I would have just liked to have some other option here besides just boring gunmetal. And I'm going to stop complaining about this because it's been a few minutes now, but just trying to get through the fact that, man, I love this thing and I really wish it was a better color. So here we are with the metal and plastic version, and we're going to talk about the differences between the two because it's very rare where a metal version ends up being a preferred version over the plastic. And so let me walk you through my thoughts, why I think it's better, why it might just be a me thing, but maybe it might help you in making a decision and go from there. So as far as the differences go, it's metal. That's it. End of the video. We're done. It's just a metal 2S. That's all you need to know. But honestly, there's a little bit more than that. So the major thing that they did change here, that's really the biggest difference on the outside at least, is they added a little bit of a plastic version where the Wi-Fi chip is on the bottom, just so it doesn't block any of the signal. And so, of course, I tested it and I wanted to double check that, hey, the Wi-Fi signal is still good in comparison to the 2S plastic and just make sure there's nothing wrong. And in my test, I was able to get 282 megabytes per second on the metal version, and then it was a 262 on the plastic version. So within spitting distance of each other, and I wouldn't say that the metal is really blocking anything. If anything, they're just basically the same. Next up, I took a look at the weight, and the metal version was 254 grams. The plastic version is 202 grams. And honestly, I prefer the added weight of the metal version. I don't know what it is. There's nothing wrong with the plastic version when you're holding it. It's light, it feels good, and all of that. But there's something about holding the metal version and just how premium it feels and how good it feels in the hands, even with the added weight, that just makes it a better experience in my hands. I don't know if everybody will agree with me on this one, but I just like how it feels. It's just better. And I don't know if that's always going to be the case, but in this specific scenario, it's definitely a better feeling for me. And before anybody asks, there's no sharp pieces anywhere on the metal version. So nothing for me to cut my finger on or hurt my finger on or anything like that. I thought about wearing gloves, but it's okay. I will be fine. And for anybody out of the loop on this joke, just go watch my 3+ metal review and you'll understand. So another common issue with metal versions is heat. And a lot of people worry about the heat on it. And coming from the 2S, which I mentioned before, can get really, really hot, especially if you watched my initial review where I was able to get it to about 74 degrees playing Twilight Princess on the GameCube, which not a lot of people are going to be doing that since it doesn't run that well anyways, but thought it would be good to just test what the capabilities were. And so in all of my play sessions with this, and even copying that same test, I've never been able to get it anywhere near that heat or that temperature. This has always been a good 20 degrees less in every scenario. And so it was confusing because I'm like, this should be just as warm, if anything, or warmer because of the metal shell, and I should feel it and all of that, but none of that was happening. And so I decided to just do a teardown, pulled both of them open and took a look inside to see if there was any changes maybe. And of course, there are actual changes. So my 2S is the launch version here. So they didn't have any changes that were done. Everything looks normal. On the metal version, they had actually added 2 heat sinks. And I'm not sure if this was added to any other plastic 2Ss since launch. So if you're in the comments, just let me know if you see them. But on the metal version, they added 2 heat sinks there, and those seem to be doing a really good job of managing the temperatures on this device. For the most part, I've topped out at around 55 degrees, playing really anything on here. So there's a good 20-degree difference at the high between these two models, and those heatsinks are doing a lot of work on that. It's kind of just furthering the point of why I think this is the definitive edition of the 2S, but it's definitely possible that they've added those heatsinks to recent 2S versions, and that's why I'm looking for the comments. Just let me know if that's the case, and you can kind of see it through the transparent and just look for those 2 spots that I'll show pictures of. And if you see a heatsink, then let me know. I'm very curious if they have added it to the plastic version as well, which I would hope they do so because this does get really hot. Looking at the rest of the device, and it's all the same. It's the same D-pad, same buttons, same triggers, same sticks. Everything else is the same, so not much to go over there. Still that great feeling, really everything that you're used to on the normal 2S, just now in the metal version. And in my mind, it's a better feeling handheld. I might actually transfer over the Skittles from the plastic version to the gunmetal one, just to give it some sort of fashion and some sort of pop, because it's just boring. But honestly, as much as I have so much good things to say about this, the one negative here is going to be the price. It's $150 US. It's $50 more than the plastic version. Is that worth it to you? Is it worth it from a general perspective? And in my mind, no. I can't really say to just anybody off the street, hey, go buy the metal version, it's better. I think if you really like the 2S and it's your handheld, your whole identity is the 2S, then maybe this might be a good option for you to look at because it just improves on it and makes it better for you. But for normal people, I don't think the metal version is going to cut it for them. It's not going to be a better option. At $150 US, as much as I'm not a huge fan of it, there is the Retroid Pocket 4 base, which is going to do a lot more than this. It's bigger, it's got a bigger screen and all of that. It's quite different. But It's really hard to just recommend this to spend $50 just for metal. Put it that way. But I know there's a lot of crazy people out there like me who just buy these devices and maybe multiples of them. I just bought another Odin 2 just because it had Skittles and I loved it. So if you're crazy like me and you're in love with the 2S and you want something better, then maybe check this out and see if you like it. For somebody who's in that position, then it might be a good purchase for you. Plus, we have to keep the hobby afloat, right? That's going to be it for this one. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow, and hope you all have a good one.